Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we will be discussing all the latest transfer news from around the globe, giving our best combined 11 of Celtic and Rangers players in the 21st century. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So coming up next, we'll be discussing all the latest transfer news from around the globe. So we'll kick off with some pretty big news that was at the weekend. So on Saturday, the 15th of July, it was confirmed that Declan Rice had signed for Premier League club Arsenal on a long-term contract. So Declan Rice will wear the number 41 on his jersey, and it was reported that the transfer fee was a club record initial 100 million, potentially rising by 5 million in add-ons, making him the most expensive English player, equaling the previous record held by Jack Grealish. So, Pearse, what is your reaction to Declan Rice signing for Arsenal?
It was one of those ones similar to a few other transfers. It was just inevitable. Once Arsenal coughed up the transfer fee that West Ham were looking to get, because bearing in mind he still had another 2 years left his contract, so West Ham didn't really need to sell, but they felt as if Declan Rice leaving on a high in terms of winning the European trophy for the club as a captain was the perfect way to bow out. And as you can see, 24, he's at the perfect age where then he's ready to take that next step. Because West Ham, their best kind of shout is like qualifying for Conference League or Europa League, or even a top half finish. But obviously last season he struggled under David Moyes, but he is a top quality player. And Arsenal losing a few players in that position, and Declan Rice is an upgrade on those players. And like you say, they fell just short of Manchester City after having a terrific start last season in the league. And I do think with an addition of Declan Rice and a few others, it will make them a lot stronger and potentially compete again with Manchester City. And I do think, obviously, paying the 105 million is a ridiculous transfer fee, but that's just English tax at the moment, because if you're English and you're doing well in the Premier League, and like you say, he's an England regular as well, similar to what Man City paid for Jack Grealish, you have to pay those sort of money if you want to compete at the highest level, and that's what Arsenal have done.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for quite a while now, that's kind of transfer saga, but it's now obviously officially completed. The first thing I'll say about Declan Rice is that, I was just explaining there the fact that he's the joint record transfer fee for an English player. So him and Jack Grealish are the most expensive English players for money. So I think because of that, he's going to have pressure on him from the start. People are now going to expect him just to come in and play well and settle right into the team. It may not work out for him that way, because it's obviously everything's different. But I think for Declan Rice, for himself, I think it's a good move for him, because when you look at Arsenal now, everything just seems to be going in the right direction. They've got a really good young manager. The players, it's a really young team that's exciting and vibrant. And I think Declan Rice coming into that, I think is really exciting for him. In terms of like the fact now that he's signed, I think that does push Arsenal's title chances, as you said. I think it's even stronger now. Although Declan Rice will probably need to have time to settle into that Arsenal team and get used to the way Arsenal play, I think he'll definitely help them, because obviously he has got experience as well. He was West Ham captain for a good couple of years, so he knows what it takes to lead on the pitch. I think he's exactly what Arsenal need in that middle of the pitch. That kind of flexibility, getting across the pitch and retrieving the ball, and I think it's a really good signing, and I definitely do think that Arsenal are real title contenders in next season. And top of that as well, sorry, just to end, the fact that they signed Jurien Timber from Ajax, who's a really good young defender, and also Kai Havertz. So they've spent a lot of money, and the squad is looking really strong at the moment. So, Pearse, is there any other transfer news that has interested you recently?
No, not really. Just kind of not really been many like kind of movement in the market. Just kind of ones that you've been waiting for to be confirmed. The one that was kind of similar to Declan Rice that's been kind of going on for a few weeks was Kim Min-Jae to Bayern Munich. Because like I think it was discussed like 2 or 3 weeks ago that they were willing to meet his release clause and they'd already agreed his personal terms. They'd done his medical in South Korea because he was on military duty with the Korean Army over the summer. So he done his like I think 8-week course there. And then obviously yesterday it was confirmed that he passed his medical, signed all the documents and signed a 5-year deal at Bayern Munich. And I think that's a fabulous signing by Bayern Munich because they got probably one of the most exciting defenders in Europe last season. And you've seen that Bayern Munich are kind of struggling, especially Upamecano in the big games anyway, that I watched for Bayern Munich. And I think he was slotting perfectly alongside Matthias de Ligt. And I think that would potentially be a kind of frightening back two. And it's obviously going to make them a lot more solid. And obviously with Neuer coming back in as well, it'll make them a more of a unit and the potential as well of maybe Kyle Walker going to Bayern Munich as well. That's just the one that I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, no, Kim Min-Jae, it's been this week it's been quite the biggest story, I'd say. It's been quite quiet on all kind of fronts, especially in European football the last few days. There's just quite a lot of speculation about players. A really interesting one for me is the Jordan Henderson kind of situation right now. So apparently Steven Gerrard's now the manager of Ettifaq, I think they're called, and Ettifaq have kind of shown Jordan Henderson a contract for him to join the club. I think it's £700,000 a week for him to join the club. And apparently Jordan Henderson's considering it. Jurgen Klopp's told him that he's not going to get much playing time next season. So I think that's quite an interesting one. I don't think Jordan Henderson would have been, I don't think anyone would have predicted him even have any chance of leaving Liverpool this summer. Obviously he's captain and stuff. He's Liverpool going through a rebuild. So I think if Liverpool lost him this summer, I think that'd be a huge loss for them, especially the fact that their squad's changing a lot at the moment. So that's one's quite interesting. I'll see how that kind of plays out. I think probably this time next week we'll see what happens with that one. And yeah, apart from that, really, there's not really much else going on at the moment. Definitely by the time we come back next week, there'll be much more that's happened. We've also as well Lionel Messi being unveiled to Inter Miami. So that's going to be interesting.
With his pal Busquets.
With his pal Busquets as well, yep. And Jordi Alba's going to be joining as well. It looks like he's joining, so that's going to be really interesting to see that kind of Barcelona link up at Inter Miami. And obviously Messi's the star player now in the MLS, so it'll be interesting to see how he'll settle down and perform in the MLS. So that's quite exciting to see.
Yeah, all eyes will be on the MLS and the Saudi League with Ronaldo and Messi, both in the leagues. And obviously, he's joined David Beckham's side, which is obviously the literally rock bottom out of all the MLS clubs. But that won't happen with Messi because with his quality in that league, he'll just romp it. And I think with his two pals, that literally the link up play would be sensational. I think they will start clearing the table, and I think there's a chance they can even win a trophy in September. I think is one of the MLS Cups. So you could even win silver as soon as possible. So exciting times for Messi in MLS because I think that will help the league grow even bigger again.
Yeah, you were just saying there just about the fact that you're right. I think it will help their situation in terms of the performances and results. But like, it's such a good marketing move for MLS. They seem the league in America just seems to be growing year on year, and to attract someone like Lionel Messi to the MLS is it's really big for them. There's going to be well more eyes on football in America, and you were just saying there as well with the Saudi league as well, also with Ronaldo. So, European football is quite, maybe we might see this season coming that the spotlight won't be fully on, European football next season. I think a lot of fans around the world are going to start looking at football around different parts of the world, which is, quite something that's, I mean, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes and see what happens with it and see, you know, how much the game grows around the world as well.
Well, it is the world sport, in my opinion, and obviously I focus mostly on the South Korean and Japanese football over here. And obviously we were obviously watch our own football back home in Scotland and Europe in terms of England as well. But in terms of the Champions League, we always watch that and like home nations. But it's good to see football from other sides of the world as well. And some of the standards can actually surprise you because like some of the football and like some of the results are so surprising. Like anybody can beat anybody, and obviously with Messi and Ronaldo going to these parts of the world, it will grow football into a global sport in terms of the global. Everyone just watches like different leagues that they probably wouldn't normally ever watch, and it's only going to benefit football in general because obviously it will help young boys and girls from these parts of the world grow up and want to play football because of these superstars.
Yeah, no, it really is such a great move in terms of like Ronaldo and Messi playing these kind of different continents because like as you say, it can help like the future generation. A lot of these a lot of these kids that might want to go into football because Ronaldo and Messi are in their own country. So it really is a brilliant move, and I think with the way football's going now in terms of transfers, I think we're going to see a lot more of it now, where football players, it's not just Europe now. I think a lot of it now will be based on other parts of the world. So yeah, really interesting times. So coming up next, we'll be giving our combined 11 of Celtic and Rangers players from the 21st century. So Pearse, we'll start off with you. So who have you included in your starting 11 and why?
Well, so this is obviously the 21st century, so from 2000 onwards, and obviously both sides have some world-class players in every position. So it was really hard to choose from, and obviously I wanted to it was like kind of maybe like a 7-4 ratio, but I've eventually went for 6 Celtic players and 5 Rangers players, and I try to make it as a strongest side as possible. So we've went with a 4-3-3 formation, and there's some players that just pick themselves. Like for instance, for me, the goalkeeper, I've went with Stefan Klos, who was a Champions League winner at Borussia Dortmund alongside Celtic midfielder Paul Lambert in the late 90s, and then he went to Rangers for about I don't know for about 5 years or so. He was just exceptional. He very rarely beat, and he was just a really good shot stopper, and that's I always remember him growing up. Just been like Rangers have always had top quality goalkeepers, and he was another one of them. And obviously, to win the Champions League, then you have to be very good. In terms of back line, I've went left back. I've went with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. Just an attacking fullback. He had a good long range finish on him. He was decent to tackle, very quick, small, diminutive, covered well. And I think the options I had, it was between him or potentially Tierney and Izagiri. And another one for Rangers I'd probably mention as well is Sasa Papac. Ever reliable defender. But I thought another one that's won the Champions League, I know it wasn't the Rangers, but it was at Barcelona. But for the brief spells at Ibrox, he went on to Arsenal and then Barcelona. So he just showed his quality in Glasgow. Then at right back, I've went with James Tavernier. I just feel as if, although defensively he's not the greatest, but we've not really been blessed with that many great right backs at Celtic or Rangers. I think the pick of the bunch was Tavernier because how good he is going forward. I think probably the only other honourable mention I'd probably mention would be potentially Didier Agat or Fernando Rickson. But I've just went with Tavernier just solely on how good he is in the set piece situations and the goal threats he has, and to score over 100 goals as right back is an unbelievable achievement. And then along at left centre back, I've went with Lorenzo Amoruso, another defender that was tall, strong, and he's just an absolute colossal warrior at the back. And alongside him, I've went with another absolute giant in Bobo Baldi. So I think the two together would have been absolutely frightening to come up against. One 6'6", one 6'5". Both built like tree trunks, man. No, but I thought both of them were brilliant defenders, although for a physical size, both tall, quick, and rarely ever get caught out. In the middle of the park, probably one of the hardest positions to choose from because there's so many players. I've went with the first one I've went with is Barry Ferguson. I just felt Rangers captain, similar to that Neil Lennon / Scott Brown. He was box to box, he had a bit of everything. Feisty in a challenge, got his team up, and had a goal threat them with set pieces, like free kicks and penalties. And I just felt as if he just had to be on the side. And I've went with someone a little bit more attacking in Stilian Petrov. I felt as if he just had that knack of arriving late into the box, similar to kind of a Frank Lampard type, but obviously in the SBL. And he went on to Aston Villa to captain them for many years, and I just felt as if he always popped up in big games, big goals against Rangers in the Old Firm games and in Europe. And I thought he was a tremendous footballer that was great going forward. And alongside them, I've went with Callum McGregor. So it was a toss-up between Lennon, Brown or McGregor. And I felt as if Lennon was just too similar to Barry Ferguson, but he was more defensive, and I thought Barry Ferguson offered that bit more. And Scott Brown, for his longevity, was unbelievable, but I just felt McGregor just technically a better footballer. And like you say, I think he's just getting better year on, year out, and he's got the most honours of any Celtic player. I don't know if it's in history, but at the moment anyway, in the current squad. And I just think he can just play anywhere in the middle of the park or even the wing. And my front three, on the right, I've went with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's your set piece sorted. And even when I think the 2006-07 season, when he was at Celtic, he got 20th in the world for the Ballon d'Or rankings. For someone in SPL to get those rankings is unheard of, and that just shows how good he was in that season. Although over his 3-4 year spell at Celtic, he was unbelievable. And people to this day still remember him. And he always came off of that left flank, right flank cutting in. But his crosses, his ability to drift in and just finish was unbelievable. Wasn't the quickest, wasn't the strongest, but he was tall, and he just had something. Just had something about him, and obviously scored memorable goals in the Champions League free kicks against Van der Sar. The one that comes to mind, probably one of the greatest free kicks I've seen in Champions League. And then on the left, I went with Aidan McGeady. Just felt as if when he was at Celtic, he was unbelievable. Rangers defenders used to get terrorised by him. Champions League defenders used to terrorised by him. I remember a skill he did the McGeady spin on Paolo Maldini in the Champions League, and he nutmegged them, and not many people get Paolo Maldini. Although he wasn't probably didn't see eye to eye with Gordon Strachan, but on his day he was a phenomenal player. And I think once he left Celtic, he didn't really hit the heights he had at Celtic, but at Celtic he was a tremendous player. And I think probably the greatest striker in the SPL history has probably got to be Henrik Larsson. What can you say about him? He was just like the complete centre forward. He could drop in midfield. He can ping a pass. He can create assists. He can nutmeg defenders, dink keepers. He can. For a guy, I don't know what height he was, maybe 5'10", 5'11". He was so good in the air as well. Remember they got 2 goals he scored in Seville in 2003 against Porto. 2 absolute amazing headers. And that's probably one of his biggest regrets. It's not won a European trophy with Celtic. But he then went on to single-handedly kind of give Barcelona the Champions League with 2 world-class assists in a final where you had Eto'o and Ronaldinho who failed to shine, and you'd also Thierry Henry on Arsenal's side. But no, the record at Celtic was unbelievable, and I felt as if another one who just loved the big games, and especially against Rangers, he terrorised them. Some of the goals, some of the skills, and you're talking about this Rangers team at that time as well, similar to Celtic, both are world class teams. Like Celtic would beat pump Rangers one week, then it would be the other. So it'd be like you'd have like a 4-0 Celtic win, then you'd have a 5-0 Rangers win. It'd be vice versa, constant with Martin O'Neill and I think it was McLeish at the time. No, they're both two world class sides in my opinion. Quality over, and then obviously I'm leaving out some massive names. Just to name a few, I'm leaving out the De Boer brothers. I'm leaving out Paul Lambert, Alan Thompson, Tom Rogic, Bugera, Davy Weir, Joost Valharen, Johan Mjällby, Virgil van Dijk. Aye. And obviously the goalkeepers you're leaving out, Alan McGregor, Arthur Boruc and Fraser Foster. That's 4 massive names there. But that's the 11 I've went with that I feel as if that offers the most balance, and hopefully you have something a bit different, Tom.
Yep, so I've just got slightly more Celtic players than Rangers players. So I have 7 Celtic players in my team, and I've got 4 Rangers players. So I'll start off with the goalkeeper. So my goalkeeper's different tiers. So I've went with Alan McGregor. Alan McGregor, I've went with because he's been at Rangers 2 different spells, but I just think his impact and like his longevity as well. You know, it's just this summer he left Rangers and he was 41, and he's now 41. You know, he's won countless trophies at Rangers. You know, he's been in the goals, and led Rangers to 2 European finals. You know, he's part of the Hall of Fame at Rangers. And I went with Alan McGregor just due to his longevity and the amount of games that he's managed to play. Because as a goalkeeper, if you play that amount of games, I mean, it obviously means something, especially at a size of club like Rangers. So, Alan McGregor is my goalkeeper. I'll start off with left back. So I've went with Kieran Tierney. I went with Kieran Tierney because of the achievements mainly of what he, of the achievements that he's won. You know, he's a double treble winner at Celtic. And also just the ability he had in terms of like his crossing was absolutely amazing. And the fact that he's at the moment he's the highest paid Scottish player. You know, Arsenal paid 25 million for Kieran Tierney, and that's the highest Scottish player to be, you know, transferred. So just for these kind of reasons, I've went for Kieran Tierney. Alongside him, I went with Virgil van Dijk. I went with Virgil van Dijk because although he wasn't at Celtic long, I just think what he went on to do after he left Celtic is just something that was, you know, amazing. You know, he was part of the last 3 to potentially win the Ballon d'Or. You know, he's won the Champions League. You know, he's won the Premier League. You know, he went from Southampton to Liverpool for an awful lot of money after he left Celtic. So I just went for Virgil van Dijk just due to the fact that you know, not many Celtic or Rangers players when they leave, they go on to become worldwide names, and Virgil van Dijk is one of them now. So I'll go with Virgil van Dijk. My other centre back is Davy Weir. as you were saying that you missed out. I went with Davy Weir because during his time at Rangers, he was just always so reliable. He was. I think he came to Rangers at quite a. I think he was quite later on in his career. He came to Rangers, but like every time you watched him, he never really made the mistake. He was part of the team that went to the UEFA Cup final. And I remember that run as well. Rangers defensively in the run to that final were really solid, and he was part of that centre back pairing. So Davy Weir, just for the fact that just for his more because his reliability, he was always so reliable for Rangers, and he never really had a bad game for them. Alongside Davy Weir at right back, I went with James Tavernier. So I went with James Tavernier just due to the amount of goals that he scored for a right back. It's quite incredible. He's got such good ability in terms of taking free kicks and taking penalties. When Rangers got to the Europa League final in 2021-22, his Europa League run was incredible. I think he scored double-digit goals in the Europa League, scored in the semi-final. I think he might have scored in every knockout kind of round, all the way up to the final. So just for something, just for a right back to do something like that is just incredible. He's now the club captain. He was part of a title-winning team that went the whole season unbeaten. So James Tavernier, just mainly due to the amount of goals he scores as a right back. So from a midfield, again, you were saying as well, it was so difficult for me as well. So I've went for a midfield full of captains. So at CDM, my first choice is Scott Brown. So I went with Scott Brown, just again his longevity and how much he's won at Celtic. It's been quite amazing the amount of trophies he's won at Celtic. He'll go down as probably one of Celtic's best ever captains. He had an amazing ability. He was always up for the battle every time he played for Celtic. Just an amazing captain. And yeah, so Scott Brown. And my other centre mid is Barry Ferguson. So Barry Ferguson goes in there as well because I think he was quite young as well when he took the captaincy at Rangers. So for something, that's really impressive for a club that size Rangers to have the captaincy. It's really impressive. I think he captained the Rangers team to a domestic treble. So that, again, impressive. And as you were saying, he was a box to box midfielder. He always fought for the cause. He was Rangers through and through. And a really good captain. For Rangers, it was really impressive. And my other midfielder is Callum McGregor. So another captain who's the current captain at Celtic in the moment. But I think we've talked about Callum McGregor on this podcast before, but his technical ability is just amazing. He's always so reliable. He never has a bad game. He's only recently been the captain of Celtic, but ever since he's took that captaincy, it just feels like he's got better and better in terms of, his trajectory. It's just went up, so he's just improved so much. So yeah, my midfield is Callum McGregor, Barry Ferguson, and Scott Brown, but there's a few names in there that were really difficult to leave out. And my front three, it's just basically the same as yours. So on the right is Nakamura, and I just had to go for Nakamura just for his ability in terms of free kicks, especially. He's known probably worldwide for his free kick goals against like Man United, for example. Just an amazing ability in terms of that left foot he had. It was unbelievable. On the left, Aidan McGeady, just a traditional winger. He was always so difficult to kind of stop, and right backs and any other player that would try and go up against him always found it really difficult. You know, he left Celtic for an awful lot of money. You know, he did really well at Celtic as well. Came through the academy. So Eddie McGeady, and last but not least, I don't think anyone would leave this guy out. Whoever you support, Celtic or Rangers, and I've went with Henrik Larsson. You know, as you said, that he is probably the best striker Scotland has seen, or he's right up there. You know, what he achieved at Celtic, you know, what he went on to achieve as well. You know, as you said, with Barcelona and single-handedly winning them the Champions League. But he was an amazing striker for Celtic. You know, went on to achieve so many things, and yeah, that is my combined 11 of Celtic and Rangers players. So, final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
So we'll start off with the Korean League table. So on Saturday, July the 15th, we had Suwon, Samsung Blue Wings 3, Ilsan Hyundai 1, Gangwon FC 1, FC Seoul 1, Gwangju FC 1, Daegu FC 1. And on Sunday, the July 16th, we had Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 1, Suwon FC 0, Pohang Steelers 4, Jeju United 2, Incheon United 2, Daejeon Hana Citizen 0. So it's leaving the table looking like this. At the top of the three, we have Ulsan Hyundai on 53 points after 23 matches played. Second position, we have Pohang Steelers on 41. And in third place, we have third and fourth place, we have FC Seoul and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors joint third in 37 points. So as you can see, Ulsan Hyundai just running the league, consistently just kind of, they faltered this weekend, but more often not, they're winning most weeks and they've got an unassailable lead. I don't think anybody's catching them. It's all about fighting out for the three teams fighting out for second position. And at the bottom of the table, we have Suwon Samsung Blue Wings on 15 points and Gangwon FC just above them, 1 point above them on 16 points. So in the J League 1, on Saturday, July the 15th, with Hokkaido Consadole Sapporo 0, Albirex Niigata 1, Yokohama F Mariners 0, Kawasaki Frontale 1. Sunday, July the 16th, we had Sanfrecce Hiroshima 1, Yokohama FC 1, Cerezo Osaka 2, Urawa Red Diamonds 0, FC Tokyo 1, Kashima Antlers 3, Gambo Osaka 3, Kawashima Reysol 1, Kyoto Sanga 2, Nagoya Grampus 1, Shonan Bellmare 0, Avispa Fukuoka 1, Vissel Kobe 2, Sagan Tusu 1. So that was a costly defeat for Yokohama F Mariners, losing to Kawasaki Frontale, which was Ryo Itachi's old side. So Vissel Kobe is now top of the table on goal difference, having played one game less than Yokohama F Mariners because they played a friendly against Barcelona a few weeks ago. So now on 20 games played, 43 points, and then the rest have all played 21 games. So second position, we've got Yokohama F Mariners on 43 points, having played a game more. And then the third position, we've got Nagoya Grampus on 39 points, just behind them. So it's set up for an exciting into the season. We're just past the halfway stage in the J League, so it's set up for a grand finale, and it's a lot more closer than it is in the Korean League. So down the bottom of the table, it's just as tight as it is at the top. Shonan Bellmare on 13 points. 17th position, Kashiwa Reysol on 14 points. And then the 16th position, we've got Yokohama FC on 15 points. So in terms of Asian football news, so we have the Japan tour of 2023. So as we're recording this, the game has just happened, the first match, which was Wednesday, 19th of July, Yokohama F Mariners versus Celtic FC. But we've got set up for more blockbuster games. So on Saturday, 22nd of July, we've got Gambo Osaka versus Celtic FC. Sunday, the 23rd of July, Yokohama F Mariners versus Manchester City. Tuesday, the 25th of July, PSG versus Al Nassr in Japan as well. Wednesday, 26th of July, Bayern Munich versus Manchester City. Thursday, the 27th of July, Al Nassr versus Inter Milan. And then Friday, 20th of July, Cerezo Osaka versus PSG. And then Saturday, the 29th of July, Kawasaki Frontale versus Bayern Munich, and then to round it off, Tuesday the 1st of August, PSG versus Inter Milan. So we're set up for a blockbuster 2 weeks of football in Japan, starting off with Celtic versus Yokohama F. Marinos. So another bit of breaking news in Japanese league. Former Barcelona Academy product, Sergio Samper has officially left G League One side Vissel Kobe after 4 years. He is now a free agent and potentially hitting his prime at 28 years of age. But he did fail to make a single J League One appearance in 2023. He only mustered 3 appearances in the J League Cup and 1 appearance in the Emperor's Cup, with a grand total of 296 minutes. The 2022 G League One season wasn't much better either, with just 6 League One appearances and an Emperor's Cup app. His injury record hasn't been great the last 2 years, but if you can stay fit and get back to the form he had in his previous spell in his first 3 years, he's capable of being a top CDM/centre mid for Barcelona at his time in Vissel Kobe during his first 3 years, where he was a mainstay. With just Japanese players and a handful of Brazilians left in the squad, the Barcelona project appears to have reached its conclusion, obviously not long after Andres Iniesta left the club as well. So Celtic FC are set to seal a double deal of young South Korean talents in the shape of Hyun-Jun and Hyeok-Kyu. Hyun-Jun deal has been in the works for a number of weeks, and he's finally said his goodbyes to the club and fans after Saturday's 1-1 draw at home to FC Seoul. A fee of around €2.5 million has been agreed between the two clubs for the tricky winger. It's expected that Hyeok-Kyu will join Celtic for the Japanese tour with a fee of around £860,000, securing an agreement between Celtic FC and Busan E-Park. Celtic tried to do this deal back in January, but have now got their man, a tall physical CDM, very much in the same mould of a young Neil Beaton. He played his final game on Sunday, the 16th of July, at home to Seongnam FC. They lost 3-2 and was given the perfect send-off by the club and fans as they confirmed his departure at full time. Celtic mean business. They get 2 of the most promising young players in South Korea. Kwon especially is a sneaky good signing, especially since he's a player that Celtic have looked at since the Postecoglou era. Big CDM with tons and tons of potential. Bayern Munich have confirmed the sign of Min-Jae from Napoli on Wednesday, the 19th of July. Kim signs a 5-year deal with the German Giants, which runs until the summer of 2028. Similar to Lee King-in to PSG, this one has been in the works for a couple of weeks, but Bayern have finally got their man, and that's all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.